all of the student Arunava Survive Plus. So today we discuss the most important chapter in the class 12, that is the sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. So last day we discussed about the chapter on the two topics. For first day of this chapter we discussed about the structure of the androecium, and in last class we discussed about the structure of gynoecium. But now today is the class for the pollination. You know what is the pollination? Transfer of pollen grains for anther to stigma. But this is not so easy process. Very complicated thing is happening in the process, but this is very interesting point of view. Right? So today we learn about this thing, pollination. So already we understand the structure of androecium and the structure of gynoecium. So the pollination means that is a transfer of pollen grains for anther to stigma. So this is ultimately pollination. But some external agent are helping the pollination, because when the transfer of pollen grains from the far away from their anther, that time some agent are required. Agent means which is helping the pollination. Maybe it is the insect, maybe it is the air, maybe it is the water. So the pollination means transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma. Okay, very good. Now today we discuss about the different types of pollination. So you know the pollination, the two types according to the plants. That means based on the ultimately source of the pollens, because that means it is happening in the same plants or the different plants, same flower or different flower. On the basis of, it is based on the autogamy, heterogamy and xenogamy. But what is the meaning about that? You know the pollination is happening in the three ways. If in one flower, pollen grains transfer from one flower to same flower, right? It is happening in the A part. That time it is called the autogamy. Second case is happening that same plant but different flower. The pollen grains is transferred from the flower A to flower B. That time it is the same plant but different flower. That time it is called heterogamy. And third one, when the transfer of pollen grains from plant B to plant C. But it is the same species of plant but the different plants. So that time it is called xenogamy. So three types of pollination are happening in our nature. We are classify these things. One by one we discuss about some details about it. Now the autogamy, that means the self-pollination, that means the transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma in the same flower. Most important, the same flower is there. But you know, if ultimately flower is the expose the anther and stigma, complete autogamy is very rare, because maximum flower, their petals are ultimately covered up their structure. So that is most important. So autogamy, like such flower, require synchronous between the pollen release and the stigma receptibility. That means the pollen grains, that means the structure of anther and structure of the ovary are maturing in the same times. Because if they ultimately synchronize their action, otherwise pollen grain release, stigma not develop, that time pollen grains fall on it, but they are not produce the pollen tubes. So what is their utilities? No utilities. So the synchronously the two male and female part are correlate their action. That time the cell pollination are happening very easily. Also anther and stigma should lie close to each other. That time it is easy to transfer the pollen grains. Otherwise pollen grains ultimately dehiscence the anther and release it, but they do not reach into the stigma. So that time also the cell pollination is not happening. So it is also the important things that is also required for the cell pollination. Now we discuss the another things that plant like Phylloera, that is the common, it is called the pansy, oxalis and some the communalia produce the two type of flower. So we discuss the three important species which produce the two type of flower. Very important this is. This called the casimogamous flower and clistogamous flower. But what is the difference between the casimogamous and clistogamous flower? Now we discuss this thing, but bear in mind in your NCERT books, three topics is there, like the phylura, like the oxalis and the communalia. That means it is the producer two type of flowers, casimogamous and the clistogamous flower. So it is the most important things is there, but now we discuss about the three important features. If it is the phylura, it is oxalis and the communalia. So one by one we discuss this thing. Now the autogamy, it is means the self-pollination. It is help in the casimogamous flower. What is the mean by the casimogamous flower? It is there, that means the similar flower of anther species expose anther and stigma. In here the two parts are exposed. That means the two same things happening, that anther and stigma exposed to each other. So easily ultimately happening that then they help the pollination. But casimogamous means the exposed anther and the stigma. But on the other hand, clistogamous flower means they do not open at all. That means their anther and stigma is present in the inside and they are covered up by the petals. So that type of flower are ultimately made autogamous, because when their petals are covered up their structure, that times the pollen grains is not ultimately falling to the other plants. The pollen grains is not fall on that particular flower. So this is ultimately very important for clistogamous. That means it is ultimately helping self-pollination. When the anther dehiscence and the flower buds, pollen grains come into contact with the other, the pollination are happening. So the clistogamous flower produce ascodiae, very important, sets it even the absence of pollinators. It is the important characteristic features. Clistogamous and casimogamous flower. So clistogamous flower close and casimogamous flower open. That is the most common difference between them. Now, so type of pollination, clistogamy leads to the inbreeding depreciations. That means their petals are covered up their anther and stigma. So from that out external point, the pollen grains is not into reaching to the stigma. So always the self-pollination is happening. So self-pollinations, the advantage is many, but disadvantage also be there. That time that variation is not happening in the self-pollination case. So that time the plants do not get the new varieties, new characteristic features, but environment is ultimately changes. That time they cannot survive. So they ultimately have some problems due to the self-pollination. Which flower have this clistogamous type of flower? This problem is called the inbreeding depressions. So the autogamy and self-pollinations, and they are most important, the clistogamous flower. Now the xenogamy. So already we discussed the autogamy, that in second point, that is the xenogamy structure. It is the transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of the anther of the different flower, but the same plant is there. Right? In here, same plant but different two flowers. So it is called the xenogamy. So you know, the functionally it is ultimately cross-pollination. Why functionally cross-pollination? Because it is happening in the two flower. But it is genetically, that means the genetically it is the two flower, it is the same plant, so two flower are genetically same. So it is a genetically similar to autogamy. Clearly understand that, because the two flower, so it is called cross-pollination, functionally cross-pollination. But ultimately level, this flower same genetical features, because it is came from the same plant, so it is the genetically similar to autogamy. Since the ultimately pollen grains come from the same plant, right? So most important, the heterogamy. Now we discuss the third type, that is the xenogamy. Also it is called the cross-pollination, because in here transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of of different plants, but it is the same species, most important also it is. In here it brings the genetically different pollen grains to the stigma. Two different plants, so genetically some difference also be there, right? Maybe it is the same species but genetical difference may be there, no? Next, the agent of pollination. That means where the cross pollination is happening, it is required different agent to pollination. It is maybe a biotic agent, it is maybe biotic. That means it is the non-living, it is the living things. You know, in the abiotic agents most commonly used, it is the wind and the water. On the other hand, the biotic agent, insect, birds, bats, primates, aerial rodents, reptiles, and many animals is there, they help to the pollination. So all are belongs to biotic agent. So in one by one we discuss that what is the abiotic agent like wind and water and what type of adaptive features is there which is doing the wind pollination. So first of all, abiotic agent to wind. Most commonly pollination is called by the wind, that time it is called the anemophily. Anemophily means the pollination by wind. But now most common it is abiotic agent. Very important question also. Wind pollination, ultimately flowers often have a single ovule in the each ovary and numerous flowers packed into the inflorescence. So many flowers, you understand that in many flowers in inflorescence there. In your NCERT book, one example that in the corn calf, this structure is there. In there, it is ultimately tassels of stigma is there and style which have the ultimately in the wing to trap the pollen grains. So this type of structure is there, right? So easily the pollen grains ultimately just attach to it. So very important adaptive features. It is the help in the wind pollination. So this is the corn calf. Very important information for your NCERT point of view. So in the wind pollination, ultimately most quite common in the grasses. Most of the monocotyledons like grass, like wheat, like rice, all of these plants are generally pollination are happening by the wind. So biological term it is the anemophily. Now the important things is there. The wind pollination have some very effective way to pollinations, but they have some adaptive features. That time the flower may be ultimately large amount of pollen grains are produced, because when the pollen grains is transferred from one to stigma, the lots of pollen grains ultimately are destroyed, right? So that is required to large number of pollens. Next of one, pollen grains are very lightweight because they are required to transfer from one place to another place. And next of one, their important characteristic is they often possess the well exposed stamen, because that for easy ultimately pollen grains are released in the wind currents and they transfer for it. That is the important features also, they are well exposed stamen. Otherwise, if it is ultimately covered with the petals, that time the wind flow, but the pollen grains do not transfer in the far away from the flower, right? So it is very effective and large and very important characteristic. Another thing is there, large and feathery stigma is there. Why? When the pollen grains are transferred by the wind, that time it is trapped the pollen grains from the air. For the reason it is large feathery stigma is present there. So all of these things is very important characteristic features for the anemophily and the wind pollinated flower. Now we discuss another abiotic agents, that is the water. But pollination by water is called, the biological term is there, that is called the hydrophily. Hydro means the water, from that point it is the hydrophily. Wind pollination is most common, but the water pollination is not so common. It ultimately it is very limited, about 30 genera only the monocotyledons are just doing this pollination by the water. In our NCERT book, the Valicineria is there, example is most important, Hydrilla. This is the freshwater plants which ultimately pollination by the water. On the other hand, the zoster, this is the zoster plants. This zoster is called the marine sea grass. So you understand the difference between the Hydrilla and zoster? It is ultimately freshwater plants, and it is the marine sea grasses. Both are ultimately exhibit their pollination by the help of the water. But in lower plants, if you know the ultimately water is regular mode of transportation for their male gametes. Like you know the bryophytes and pteridophytes, they need the water for their transportation of gametes. It is their mode of reproduction way. But today we discuss about the higher group of plants, mainly the angiosperm, right? So abiotic agents, water, the Vallisneria is most common. But different adaptive features, very interesting adaptive features is there. You can understand that in the Vallisneria, in the female flower, when they reach in the surface of the water, by the long ultimate stalk is there, and the male flower of pollen grains, that time they are released into that point in the water, surface of the water. But they carry out the water current, and finally they reach into the female gametes. It is the case of Vallisneria. But on the other hand, we have another example is there, that is in seagrass. In the seagrass, in there, what is happening there? Female flower remains submerged into the water. They do not come into the surface. They submerge into the water, and that time the pollen grains are long and the ribbon-like, and they ultimately carried out and go to the inside of the water and reach the stigma. So that is the more interesting events happening in the Vallisneria and the seagrasses. One time the female structure is ultimately exposed, but another time they do not support this, so pollen grains they reach into the stigma, go to inside the water. So most commonly you understand that Vallisneria and seagrasses, their pollination are happening with the help of water. Now we discuss the another things is their way of abiotic water agent the water. The pollen grains are mostly the water pollinating species, have special adaptive features that the pollen grains are covered with the mucilage. Why the mucilage is there? Because they ultimately protect the wetting. Because if it is a wetting, they are ultimately wetting and they ultimately fall down into the bottom of the water. At that time pollination is not possible. So not all the aquatic plants is the hydrophily. In most aquatic plants like water hyacinth, water lily and their flowers ultimately absorb the level of water for the entomophily or anemophily. If you think that the plant is growing in the water, that means the ultimately pollination are happening in the water or hydrophily, that time it is not the correct, right? Because the abiotic is in the water, pollination is so limited. So some plants like you know that the water hyacinth and the water lily are the watery or aquatic plants, but the pollination are happening by the help of entomophily or the anemophily. Clearly understand that? Very easy concept. So we understand the abiotic agent within water pollinated flower are very not so very colorful and also do not produce the nectar because it is not required, right? Because each time the insect or some agent is not attract that time, so it is not in that nature. Now we discuss about the agent of pollinations in the biotic agents. First of all, the animals. You know, used by the majority of flowers, flowering plants are follow this the animals helping pollinations. Like in that time the different animals take the important roles, but more commonly bees, butterfly, flies or some beetles like wasps, like ants, like moths, like birds, like sunbirds and the hummingbirds is most common. They ultimately much more help in the pollinations. And like bats, like some primates, like the lemurs, and some arboreal animals. Arboreal means tree dwellings, like rodents. That means this type of rats. They are ultimately generally they are habitating into the twigs of the tree. So also they are help in the pollinations. Some reptiles like the cave lizards and the garden lizards also be help in the pollination, because when they are moved from one place to another, that time the pollination are happening automatically. So their help also be in the pollination. So this is the biotic agents, they are animals, and most important type of pollination it is. And so pollination of insect, this is ultimately we given a common term. So in the year we already tell that this is the anemophily. In the case of water it is called the hydrophily, and in the case of animals it is called, or mainly the insect, it is called the entomophily. So particularly bees are the most common. So if I ask you the one questions, so which insect is the more common in the pollination? That time you would answer the bees, right? Bees is the most common. Often flower of animals, pollinated plants, especially adopted for particular species of animals. So some flowers, their pollination are happening in the specific animals. So they have some correlations. Same type of adaptation is there. For that reason, both are benefited together, right? So it is very important characteristic features, both the plants or both the animals which are helping the pollination. So this is most important biotic agents, animals and their pollination features. Now some features of the insect pollinated flower. In here it is required to attract the insect. Show large and colorful and fractal rich nectar. Nectar is very important. Nectar and pollen grains are like floral rewards of pollinators. But why the ultimately insect come into the flower? They require some rewards, right? If my rewards is if your video this video is ultimately easily understand your topic, so you like my video, so like this is my rewards, right? Sometimes so that time if you are giving more likes, so I are doing this more videos in that particular channel. Sometimes because it is a reward for me. Also same thing is happening in the insect. When the insect ultimately came into that flower, if they get lots of amount of nectar, so then they again come back into the particular flower. So ultimately the nectar and pollen grains are the floral rewards of the pollinations. When they show the flower ultimately the rectangle small, the flower ultimately form inflorescence, make them so visible. Their arrangement of flower is so interesting that time. So the flower of pollination part by flies and beetles, sometimes like foul odors, because that time they attract in that type of odors. That time this type of adaptive features are developed, particular some type of plants and some type of animals like the bats and the gulmohar plants it is happening like. So pollen grains are very generally are sticky. So when the insect come down, their legs ultimately attach to the pollen grains. So when the animals come into the contact with the animals, anther and the stigma, their body gets the pollen grains. Now when it comes in contact with the stigma, they ultimately just move on the flower. When the animals just move on the flower, also they are ultimately take the nectar. That time the pollen grains, which is attached to their legs, by chance this is attached with the legs, that is fall into the stigma of the flower, and the pollination are happening. So this is the way by which the pollination are happening by the abiotic agents, the animals. Mainly the insect we understand from that point. But most important you know that some plants provide a safe place for floral rewards. So the plants when they are ultimately benefited by the different type of animals, that time flower also some give the extra advantage. So the pollinations are happening very easily. So that time like more important, some plants provide a safe place for the laying, like they give them one land for ultimately doing or falling their the eggs. Most common one flower it is the Amphophilus. You can see it, right? It is like the very tallest flower, like their height is a 6 feet height. So large so it is. So a small species and the plant the Yucca can complete their life cycles without each other. So they are dependent on each other. So that is most important. The moth ultimately deposit the eggs in the locule of the ovary. After that, the flower gets pollinated by the moths. So their larvae come out from that point and the eggs and the seeds are developed. So that is happening. The yucca plants are amorphous, also give the landing platform to the insect. So this is the most two rewards of the some plants give their pollinators. Alright, so please you also be like my channels, show what is helpful to you. This is my rewards. So also I give you the very interesting class next time. Okay, so now discuss the another point, that is many insects are consume pollen and nectar without bringing about the pollinations. That is very harmful. That time some people watch the video and they understand the video, but they do not like our channels. So that time it is what is happening. They that time it is okay, but that time same thing is like happening in the pollination. So many insects consume pollens and nectar, but they do not help in the pollinations. So what is another term is there, that is called the pollen or nectar of bees. Right? Very interesting term is this. But in the case of video, it is not applied that, because like every video is for everyone. This is their choice that they like or not, right? But in here also be there, because the flower is expect that if they actually come in there, they help to pollination. That is where, nothing more. So this is the pollinations, and we discuss the different type of pollinations mainly, the orthogamy, heterogamy and xenogamy, and some details and characteristic features of the flowers, how they ultimately pollination, and we lastly discuss about the different agents by which the pollination is happening. Okay, so if you understand this topic very easily, so please do like our channels or subscribe also this channel. Also tell the friends to observe or watch this video, so also they are helpful to their concept also. Okay, so thank you very much. See you in the next class and next topic. Okay, thank you.